You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Walking Dead After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Walking Dead After Show.
Hey guys, what is happening? And welcome back to The Walking Dead. It's finally here. I feel like we've been waiting so long.
Derrial is so excited.
Exit.
I'm so excited I dropped water.
You know,
that's
it's
what
only
happens
been
when you
one
come
day without
You
an
know what?
accident
At least
now.
it wasn't wine, right?
Very true.
It's our first day. No days without an accident.
No days without an accident.
We gotta start our count again.
So joining us, as always, the lovely Kristin Carole.
Hey guys.
And next to her, dropping water, but at least not wine, Derrial Christon.
Are you
Guys,
pregnant?
I'm so
AKA
excited.
Bob.
Sorry. I know, right? I'm so excited.
You're not pregnant, are you?
I am not.
Okay.
Watch the ceiling, guys. Watch the ceiling. All right, Nando.
Yes.
Nando, right next to me. What's up?
What's up, Dave? Right
What's
next
up?
to me. Dave's right next to me.
And I'm Dave Klein, guys. Thank you so much for joining us once again for the Walking Dead After Show. And I'm so excited to be back, but let's go ahead and just jump right into it because we've got a lot going on with the prison. The prison is back, and we're seeing that over the break, a lot of things happened. That everyone's kind of come together, they've grouped together, and we see that they now have kind of a society going on in the prison. A different and new way of life, probably not a forgetful, happy way of life as Woodbury probably was, but everyone kind of doing their part to pitch in. And we see a lot of that as we come around the camp. So, and for those of you guys listening on the iTunes cast, by the way, Derrial spilled water. That is what we were talking about.
He was so excited.
Sorry, I was so excited. I've been waiting for this premiere for a long time. Clearly, my energy was the reason for this water spilling, so I apologize.
Yes.
But so we have Rick, the start of it is Rick is working outside listening to music. So apparently they had music somehow. I guess they found batteries. I'd assume it has to be batteries.
Well, they had so much in Woodbury. I just figured maybe they brought some that way. And as we see, they're going out on runs, so their whole prison is a lot more developed. So that's what I assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah,
interesting
probably.
the whole opening scene, no language, no words.
No words.
Yeah, which they love to do. They did that, I remember, in the beginning of season 2, which was really awesome.
And last season where they were going through that house, everything
also-
was quiet
Yeah.
until somebody.
They also had another zoom in on a walker at the end to end out the intro, which I think they also did in the some of the previous seasons.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We were trying to
Yeah.
figure out like exactly what that meant because the walker was really significant in that first scene, and then showing them, as you said, in the last scene
Right.
too. We were trying to figure out what exactly that meant.
Yeah, so so that's kind of what we get to start off, and then we get going through prison life, as I was saying before. So you have Derrial talking with Carole, and we have Patrick, our character, who we're gonna see again. So excited to meet his hero, Derrial, bringing back the deer for everybody, and Patrick kind of chipping in there, but kind of get this mentality of Derrial. Everyone seems to look up to him in this society because we have Derrial or Patrick talking, or maybe I don't know. Maybe everyone who looked up to him died. I'm not thinking about it.
I think it's funny. Patrick is kind of what I feel like most of us fans are when we meet Derrial. It's like, it's such an honor, Sarah. Can I shake your hand? And then he's just too cool, and he just.
Well, he also does
Just
the
does
before
does
he
do
shakes
the-
his hand.
the
So
finger
that
lick.
was pretty
Well,
funny.
Derrial-
And his hair color is darker, so obviously they're getting
Not much
some
sun.
dye.
Well,
So-
Daryl's just
Oh, I
incredibly.
figured that he colored it or something.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, he's really uncomfortable with everyone thanking him, and it's just obvious. He's we used to see him as a loner, and even though he's been more sympathetic and more with the at least the core group, just having all these new people. Hey, it's like Cheers. Everyone knows his name. It's like, hey Derrial, how you doing, Derrial? And he's just like, you can see him kind of like grumbling inside, like all these people talking to me, thanking me. I don't like it. And Carol's, of course, remember, I liked you first. Nice little flirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of that from Carole, but still nothing yet so far. But we also have other crews. So we have the cleanup crew, essentially, the guys who are the people who are on the fence, kind of headed by Karen and Tyrese, wanting to do it mainly
Get some,
to
Tyrese.
a little bit of
Get
Karen
some
action there.
Tyrese.
Yeah.
Go Tyrese though,
Go
works
Tyrese.
out. But apparently he doesn't really like the method of the whole wall method. It just seems different to him, and I don't know what do you guys think? I'm like, I don't know. It seems like a good method to me.
I feel like they've made him a lot more sensitive than he is in the comics.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then even
definitely.
last
Oh, for
season,
sure.
it's kind of progressed, and then they make Sasha the tough one, which as a girl, I don't mind. I'm definitely cheering for her, and Sonequa is amazing. I got to interview her. She's like the nicest person
Yeah.
ever. So-
I think Tyrese even in the comic book was a bit sensitive. He's just very honorable. He wants to. It's like he wants to do battle out in the field with the zombies. He doesn't think killing them.
He does
like
when it
down
comes to the
fence.
battle in the war front, not when it comes to
Yeah.
the battle in bed.
But I do
not quite
feel,
as honorable there.
Yeah, but I do feel that this Tyrese.
I bet Karen takes charge there.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
right.
Is that too much?
but
It's
I do
alright.
bet that Tyrese is a lot more sympathetic,
Yeah.
or just I don't want to say weak, but he just seems a lot softer in the TV series than he has in the comic.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, he's still a brutal fighter, I assume. Although he has no aim, he can't shoot in the show.
Yeah.
But maybe he's good with a hammer.
He's so much more of a gentle giant in the TV series, I feel.
So Dave Boy's kind of agreeing with the whole Derrial hair dye thing, saying he must have picked some up at the supermarket. Must
The
have got
local
from Big
CVS.
Spit or Big Spot, whatever it was. I think it was supposed to be Big Spot, but it looked like Big Spit to
It
me.
did look like
I think
Big
it's
Spit.
funnier as Big Spit.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
so.
Yeah.
The
that's
Big
what
Spit.
that's what we trademarked it as.
Yeah,
Big
it's
Spit.
the Big Spit.
The big spit. The big spit.
Exclamation point.
The Big Spit. But one of the things that was interesting to me is that we have the herds kind of centering up now, and they mentioned that in the show that now they're very much like they're a lot more aggressive at the prison, because before in last season we see them just kind of like hang out outside like, I don't even know there is a prison. What's going on? And now they're all clamoring up to the prison gates, and they're all centering as they describe there. So
Do you think that's because there's more people now, and then there's also animals outside and food growing? So are their senses a little bit more alert to what's going on? Because even though if they're being quiet, it's still how many people making noise?
Well, you ever been in a room with a bunch of people and everyone's got to be quiet, and people still do little. Well, if I just talk like this soft, nothing's going to happen. But then you have 50 people talking.
Well, yeah,
and
and
Exactly.
still
we've seen
noise.
like from last season, Andrea leave. You know, the cars
Yeah.
going back and forth. The commotion's heavy in that,
There's enough
in
of
that
a
area.
footprint.
So
yeah, there's enough of a footprint in that
Exactly.
and
place.
I think they're hungry enough because it doesn't look like there's a lot of food out there anymore. I mean, now how long is it since do we call it a virus started spreading? That they don't have as much to eat.
I'm almost wondering if that could be the case. I'm almost wondering maybe they're evolving in a way too. So
that's
maybe they're
possible.
slightly
Seems shocking.
changing, evolving to adapt with the fact that there is less food, and they have to do things to survive.
Animals do it. Why can't zombies?
Right. So yeah,
Yeah,
why
good
can't
point.
zombies?
Yeah.
On the subject of Tyrese, B. Fernandez on the chat saying that Tyrese acted more of a badass last season, and the opening of this episode is more of a lover than a fighter.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Now
give
he's got
Tyrese
a
time
reason.
now. Tyrese has got a full season.
There's
to,
a lot
you
of
know,
love
get
going-
his hardcore
Yeah.
on.
Let's
though.
speak
That's all I
on
got to
let's
say.
speak on some of that love.
There's
We've
a
got
lot of
Beth
love.
with a new boy in town.
Zach.
Zach.
Oh, Zach.
The new boy in town, Zach.
I think all of us, when she kissed him, were like, ooh.
Can I
for
just
a
say I
second.
called it? Well, I think it was a bit of a foreshadow when she says when she doesn't say goodbye. To me, that was a bit of a foreshadow.
Really?
I thought.
Interesting.
I thought it was a foreshadow. Just saying.
But you know what was interesting? Maybe it was a foreshadowing, but you would have thought that she would have felt guilty if he did die,
Yeah, I thought that she
and
would feel
that was the
guilty, and I was
exact
wrong about
opposite. That shocked me.
That
Well,
was
I don't know.
pretty
I
funny.
took it as like at this point she's just like so used to people dying that are important in her
And
life.
that's so sad.
And it's just like at the point where you just become numb to it. That's why I took it as. It's not even like. I mean, I feel you with the foreshadowing, but I really just took it as like the way of living for them right now at this point is like, you know what? They're just used to that. Like it's just it's expected.
Well,
I
she even
know.
says, she goes, I don't cry anymore, Daryl.
Exactly.
But
I almost knocked over this glass, Derrial, and I think that's just it's big.
You almost
Yours
pulled
are
a
big
Derrial?
mugs. Like I almost pulled a Derrial.
Thank you. You put a Derrial.
I-
I'm gonna trademark that.
But hasn't a girl ever having you ever flirted with someone and the girl's like, doesn't want to say like, I'll see you later, just like teasing, like, okay, whatever. You know,
Kristin,
I always
pro-analysis.
flirt with girls. And
You always
tell
flirt
them
with
No,
girls?
that-
analysis of how girls act.
Isn't there like a little? No, but it just felt very flirty to me.
No, we do that. Actually, when my boyfriend asked me out, he's like, so it's a date. And I'm like, who said anything about a date?
Yeah.
Now we're together 15 months later. So
I was like
Yeah.
15
Works out.
years. What's
So
going
it's
on?
flirty.
feels like 15 years.
Yeah.
15 years. When
Yeah,
did you guys?
it's a little
Wow,
flirty.
that's a long romance. You guys really made it a good
Comic-Con,
time.
man. Kid, not kidding you.
Kids Comic Con.
Kids Comic
Kids Comic Con. So we got a Herschel talking to Rick a little bit about the fact that this whole idea of Rick doesn't want to leave, and we'll get on that later. But now that I think about it, like,
There's
wait a
a
second, we want to talk
popping
about that
noise.
later.
What is that?
In
I could have
my
had a
ear.
V8. I'm
water
old. I'm old.
everywhere.
You know what I loved about Herschel in this one? I feel like we're jumping ahead around a little bit, but when he was talking about farming to Rick.
That was kind of the scene I was talking about.
That's the scene you're
let's-
talking about.
let's go
Yeah,
ahead and talk
he
about
was
it.
talking about. I love the way he was talking about the plant. And he's saying things that these leaves will break, but they could still grow, and the leaves and shade. They're no good. They don't. No good fruit comes from leaves and shade, which I think was an analogy to the prison, or what foreshadowing to the prison. The fact that they're kind of in the shade right now, and the fact that they might not be able to get any good fruit.
Interesting.
And I thought it was also talking about just Rick, the fact that he's not going out anymore, or he doesn't have his gun, that he's letting all of these things, kind of hold him back from being the leader that he used to be. And I think it's a good idea that they have this council now, because it's a lot better. There's a lot of people. You need to have more than just one person, or a Ricktatorship, if you will.
But Rick's not in the council.
I totally agree with that. I think that's good, especially for Rick, he's still doubting himself at this point, as we see, and we'll talk about later on. Back on the relationship topic, Liz saying on the chat that best BF was Beaver on Veronica Mars, and when he popped up, I was like, please live this time. And 30 minutes later. So let's go ahead and talk about the whole big spit scene where they pull up the big spit.
Can I just mention one thing that I thought
No,
was
you
really
can't.
odd, but it
No.
leads to big spit.
No, yeah, go ahead.
No, I loved how there were 5 scenes in a row, and all 5, I think there were 5 scenes in a row, and all 5 scenes were relationships, and they all had to do with one person going to the party, to this big spit. It went from
Because we had Maggie and Glenn.
Yeah, with Maggie and Glenn, and Glenn telling Maggie not to go.
That's a good
because
point.
it was hinting right then and there something was up. You had Tyrese with Karen. You had Beth with Zach, the boyfriend, and you also had Derrial and Carole a little bit too. Well, although all different phases of relationships,
Yeah.
but it was like you even said, man, everyone's hooking up in this prison.
I did.
But it was like scene after scene after scene. It was a really good way to introduce the new characters and to set the relationships and to put all these relationships at stake by having one person from each relationship go to the raiding party.
Although I will say, I agree with that analysis. I think the Maggie Glenn thing, though, a lot of that was to foreshadow the fact that there was the pregnancy scare.
Yeah.
I think that was a lot of the point of that.
I kind of figured that's bound to happen with them. They're engaged, they're doing it a lot, and who knows how much protection they're using. I mean, it's bound to happen.
How many condoms can you make in a post-apocalyptic world?
You got to make a lot of runs.
How many condoms are
for
really
that.
left in those convenience stores that they can raid? Yeah, we got to check that out.
Expiration dates.
Expiration dates on those. Protective sex.
Well, you could just tell in his voice too that he really didn't want her to go. And she's like, well, I have the suit. And so obviously something more than just her life was at stake, because we know Maggie can take care of herself. Heck, I think Maggie can almost kick more butt than Glenn half the time. It just
But, yeah, but
depending
this
on
is
it.
Glenn's first love, and you could see him being protective over all this stuff. And they obviously have a different idea on family, as we see later on.
Yeah.
But she didn't fight him as much as she used to. That's what I thought was different, because there were a few times last season where he didn't really want her to do something, and she was like, oh, I'm gonna do it anyways.
Yeah.
And this time she was like, darn it, all right.
Yeah, you're right. And, totally. She was much more
LOVE,
submissive
baby.
about it.
LOVE.
So let's go ahead and talk about the place they end up, Big Spit, and this is what you gotta call it. So they're going. It's a new place for supplies, and there's kind of that foreshadowing again that something's up when you see It's more Bob. Bob seems to have all these scenes where he's looking and he's like, I don't know about this.
The
for a bit.
creepy
He's like,
meter goes off when he's on. He's like, it's creepy. Something
because
creepy.
you see that half zombie corpse on the ground, and that's what he's looking at. And obviously the music too is foreshadowing it as well. And Bob, who is apparently a medic, I believe he said.
Yeah.
So we get that from Bob, and he has to prove himself. So this is his moment to prove himself in Big Spit. And they go inside, and everyone, as we were watching, kind of commenting that there is a lot of supplies there. There's really a lot. It seemed like an untapped plethora of things.
That's
in the Big
amazing
Spit.
how those walls were full of appliances that hadn't been touched.
I mean, I was like, people weren't grabbing the blenders off the walls. What? I'd be zombie apocalypse. Blenders the first
Dave's
thing I go
grabbing
for.
the blenders. It's gonna have the best smoothies in town.
That's how I kill zombies. Blender over
The
top,
best
and then I
zombie
realize I'm plugged in.
smoothies in town. Exactly.
Well, we forgot to mention quickly that we may have found out that Derrial was, undercover cop.
That was
Yeah,
funny.
that was a good scene.
I
was a
love
good
that
scene.
Michonne was laughing at that. I like that we continue to see more from her character.
We also see a little humor break too, and people are also just in general not as on edge as they have been in the past seasons. As we got into this new season, everyone's a little bit lighter hearted. Everything's okay because, I guess it's been 30 days since
At
an accident.
least.
30 days since an accident, which is good odds, I guess.
30 days at least since the end of last season, I meant. But
30 days without an accident. Well, no, I'm just quoting the title. It's been 30 days without an accident was the title of the episode. But I mean, still, people aren't quite as on edge. But yeah, that was a fun scene with Derrial just being like, well, maybe I was an undercover cop.
I don't like to talk about it.
Some good stuff. But back inside though, we have Bob wanting to grab the booze. Got to booze up, having a house party.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a zombie
important.
apocalypse. Might as well get drunk.
The
every so
mystery that
often.
is Bob, a former medic in the army, but apparently with an alcohol problem and that weird staring at that zombie thing in the beginning of that scene. So just keep the
That helps you get through the hard times, the booze.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know what, though? I mean, like, at the end of the day, you get tired of water. That's actually why they invented beer and wine, was because it was something different than water to drink. Before
And a
they had
glass
soda.
of red wine is actually healthy for you.
True.
Yes.
1 glass of red wine a day is good for you. One glass.
Yes.
Yeah, and it has to be red.
I'm watching you, Bob. I saw you eyeing that down. So he goes to grab it, and, oh, Bob, we knew you were bad news from the beginning.
Yeah.
We knew you were bad news from the beginning. The entire thing comes crashing down. He
Clutch.
spills, and the main problem here to me isn't the fact that zombies started, or walkers started popping out from the ceiling. It's the fact that he ruined all the wine.
I know. It wasn't his fault, though.
Not only that, he lied. He lied when they went to try and rescue him. He's like, "Oh, I was going really, really fast."
Yeah.
And so obviously that even puts more pressure on what the hell's going on with this guy. He couldn't even be up front and say, "I just want to take a look at the liquor" or something. So he's hiding.
Dave Boyce yelling out, "Who in the hell built that wine rack?" It's a very poorly built wine rack. Good call, Dave Boyce.
True.
But how long has that wine rack been sitting there, though? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, that's...
Just be glad there wasn't nobody there saying you break it, you buy it.
Right.
I built my
That's a
wine.
lot
oh,
of
yeah.
money. That's a lot.
But maybe it's the cheap stuff, the cheap
Yeah.
wine. It was all the barefoot. I don't know. I build my wine racks to last. I don't know about it. I don't know about them.
It's because you're a smooth operator there, Dave.
Exactly. But as all hell breaks loose, we get to finally get some action and see some really badass action. Also, the cool walker there on the ground crawling with his
I
foot
love
dangling
that. That was
off.
actually one of my favorite scenes tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was one of the cooler.
I
Because we
kind
always
of
get
like
that one
the-
cool walker.
Yeah.
I like the
episode.
exploding walker that when
The
it hit the
Derrial?
ground, it just
Oh, yeah,
splattered
just splattered
everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, the Derrial head stomp was good too.
Oh yeah, the curb stomp.
And also when
Yeah.
Bob was trying to hold that zombie back and his skin was peeling
skin was
off. I mean,
peeling off,
Nicotero is
yeah.
really doing even
Yeah.
more and more good stuff with the
But
zombies.
at the premiere, which we have footage on AfterBuzz TV on YouTube when I went
Check
there,
it out.
so you should. Greg actually interrupted the interview crashed the interview that I was having with Sonequa, and she was talking about cool stunts that she got to do, and she said, well, it has something to do with the pool cue, and that Greg actually fought for to have in there, so that may not have even have been in there in the first place.
Oh,
So it's pretty cool, and he's like, that's probably my favorite stunt that we've done so far.
nice.
Is Sasha with the pool cue.
yeah, it was cool.
That was
Stabbing.
badass.
Yeah,
I like that.
That was a great one. You know, I feel like the walker in this episode, I keep on wanting to call them zombies now. I think it's because I've been watching other zombie flicks lately.
Yeah.
But I think the thing with the walkers, I think the one that was hanging, that was supposed to be like the big one. And almost to me, like at this point, these characters are so good at fighting walkers. I was just like, whatever. It's just a walker hanging on a parachute thing. But so that to me wasn't the big one that I thought about. It really was that one without the foot that I was like, whoa, that's the walker this episode. That's the big opening walker moment. But we have Zach there whining. They got to go back for Bob. And Zach's calling, let's go back for Bob. And Derrial comes to help out Bob. And they make it until Zach doesn't make it. Gets
Yeah.
bit in the foot. But that wasn't really the big deal. I mean, so what? He got bit in the foot. But then the entire roof collapses on him
I
right
know. I was
afterwards.
like, man.
If that wasn't enough to be bit in the foot.
Well, don't forget,
Yeah.
Herschel got bit in the exact same spot, and they were able
Oh,
to
yeah,
save
they
him.
were able to save him. Good point.
So I guess they really wanted to say, no, he's really dead.
Yeah,
We're
no,
not
this
going to
is-
Well,
hesitate.
I think they were about to go over there, and then all of a sudden this walker was on top of him, biting his neck and everything. So it wasn't just a bite anymore. He was literally getting eaten.
Yeah.
So
I
at that point, I mean, what are you going to do?
I think it's in his contract because his name is Kyle Gallner.
Yeah.
And he was formerly in Jennifer's Body as well.
Yeah.
And Megan Fox destroyed him in that movie as well. He basically got gut written, like eaten like the same
Spoiler,
way
if
zombie
you haven't
style.
seen that movie.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the
and
movie,
Veronica
but that
Mars.
movie's like 3 years old.
Well,
so if you haven't
listen,
seen
I
it
think
now, I'm
that's-
sorry.
That movie came out when I was college. So
Yeah, I was like, that movie's like 3 years old. So if you haven't
Or
seen
no,
it, I apologize.
I saw it in grad school.
But maybe that's his,
Well,
thing.
Liz was also saying in the chat that there's another movie he died in right away. Or show. It was Veronica Mars. I think she was saying that he was
there
in
you
and
go.
died right away.
So maybe that's his contract.
That's his
Poor actor.
expertise.
Yeah. That's
I
just
must
the
be
thing.
eaten by something.
That's like, we need someone to die within 30 minutes. I know who to call.
If you're
I
gonna
know
go,
just
go
the
in a
guy.
memorable way. at least.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go in a memorable way.
Have an entire roof collapse on you with a helicopter and walkers all over the place.
At least he's getting cute girls. I mean, he had
He is.
Emily
For a
Kinney
heartbeat.
and then
Megan Fox.
Megan Fox.
Hey, that's a pretty good record.
That's
right
not
there.
bad.
That's a good point.
I'm down with that.
Beth
I'll
didn't
take
kill
it.
him.
So they end up coming back, and we get that scene where Derrial has to break the news to Beth, and she's kind of heart-wrenching in a way, but just showing how hard Beth has gotten at this point, because she's just like, okay, immediately goes, takes out the 30 days without an accident signs, just takes out the 3, so 0 days without an accident. And just doesn't even think about it. And she actually goes to comfort Derrial, and Daryl's the one who's upset about it over her.
Yeah, but we were saying, like, at this point, it's just like you have to expect it. I mean, it's like she's lost so much already. So at this point, you even if it's someone new in her life, you can't expect that person's going to last for a long time.
It's still so sad, but I think what's interesting about that pairing of Derrial and Beth, at least, is we mentioned this earlier in the episode, Derrial having trouble with human interaction, people actually being nice, like Patrick thanking him personally for bringing home food, and all those people saying his name. He felt really uncomfortable. And then Beth having a similar, like, she doesn't really connect, she doesn't want to connect to Zach because she doesn't want, they have a very similar dynamic with
very
people.
true.
A social dynamic.
Yeah.
So
well, if you notice too, I think it's just the younger generation. Their coping skills are a lot different because you have the older generation there that didn't have the zombies for most of walkers for most of their life, but now it's starting to be Carl, Beth, and Judith's going to completely grow up in that world. It'll be interesting to see, well, if she makes it, how she forms, with her sensitivity.
I
as well.
completely agree with that point, because you see that example of Maggie and Glenn, even in this episode where Glenn cares so much about Maggie, wants her to stay behind and all that. And then you get the example of then Beth, who's just like, just a player, No, but she's just like, yeah,
Love
I'll find
him and
another
leave
boy.
him.
I'll find another boy. It's fine. No, but I mean, just that example of Beth, though, where it's just like she's so used to it because this is the world she's grown up in. And I think it really is that difference of like, and I'm sure with Carl, we're going to see how different he handles everything and how different the younger generation is going to be because they've just grew up with this and this is just their life, where the older generation are still coping because it's not what they were used to. Yeah. As much as they do cope in a way, it's still not how they were raised. So,
well, I'm sure we're gonna have more to say about Carl when we get to that too.
Oh yeah,
yeah, there's a lot on Carl this episode, I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and talk about iTunes before we move on to the next real topic.
All right.
And the fact that, guys, if you do enjoy the show, please comment, please rate us on iTunes, positive or negative. We just want to hear what you guys think. It doesn't matter. We just want to know. And even if there's ways that you guys, things that you want to hear, ways that you guys think we could improve the show, let us know. Or if you guys just love the show, we enjoy hearing that too. And also, please comment on YouTube as well. Check us out on YouTube. Please comment. And if you guys enjoy the show, if you guys want to be part of the live chat, as you've heard us talking to the live chat, check us out on www.afterbuzztv.com every single Sunday night at 9 p.m. Pacific time. We ended at 10 p.m. Pacific time. 9 p.m. Pacific time. That is when we do Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Pacific time on AfterBuzzTV.com. You can join in on the live chat, and you can chat with us live as you've heard us talking to you guys. So definitely come join us every single week. And with that said, let's go ahead and talk about Rick's quest with the Woods Girl.
I'll just tease her really quickly there because I know I had tweeted it out. But at the end of our podcast, we'll do like a trivia question because we do have a really cool poster, and I'll explain all that later. And that'll have to do with YouTube comments.
Yes, yes. And also, before we move on, Liz pointing out something about Beth. She does at least sing a lovely tune.
Oh,
she does do that on occasion.
Yeah.
Thank you for
I wonder if how she wooed Zach. She sang to him.
Yeah, probably. That's how she wooed him.
I think it was beyond her singing, the Beth.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
She's a lovely girl.
underage.
She's just a lovely girl.
She's just a lovely girl.
She's just a lovely girl. All right, so Rick, we get him in this big foreshadow. I feel like there are a lot of foreshadows in this episode, I think. But we get this foreshadow with him where he's talking to Herschel again in a scene after the initial one about farming, where Herschel's like, I had a talk with the council, and we really want you to bring your gun with you this time. So, again, Rick's shaken up about everything. He doesn't want to bring his gun. He's kind of doesn't want to kill things things without a knife.
There was
anymore.
foreshadowing before that in the opening scene when he went with the music to the farm and he found that gun and he threw it away.
Yeah.
So even that scene, like,
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah.
But again, foreshadowing though in this future scene with the fact that he has to take this gun now, and it's kind of just like, all right, well, he's probably gonna need the gun this episode if he's given the gun. So so he gets the gun and he goes out on this quest, and as he's walking around, and he's redoing the traps. I think that's the idea, resetting the traps. And as he's walking around, there is this woods girl who is there, whose name we never find out, and she's just getting some food, and she kind of looks like a walker a little bit.
yeah. Like
I
Walker.
was saying that maybe she said that they were starving, her and her husband Eddie, and I thought maybe because she's starting to starve, and which would cause her to die, the zombie was starting to take over. I think she was starting to turn into one because
No, it seemed
of
very
that
possible.
she was starving.
Her movements were very.
Well, and her
inhuman,
hands
yeah.
and just, you could see kind of right and around her neck.
Yeah,
it
you
was
see
a
her
different
bones.
color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From far away, I really thought her hands looked almost corpse-ish.
Yeah.
But again, like, you also pulled out the point while we were watching it. Well, she's probably just been starving and she doesn't eat very much, so it's possible she just looks like a walker, because that's kind of what happens. You start looking like a corpse when you don't eat enough. So I mean, she's just super thin, ultra thin, looking like a corpse there.
Well, she hasn't killed anybody, as she said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she asked for help, and she says, like, I want help. I want my husband and me. We just need a place to stay. And she asked Rick for help, and Rick goes ahead and actually, not trusting, but still more trusting than he would have been in season 3. I feel like he's
I
actually
agree.
better.
Yeah.
So he goes ahead. He goes to help her, which is good. I like that arc with Rick. I'm glad he's still not totally the Rick we used to know and love from season 1, but he still at least is better, which is nice to see. And he goes ahead and is just like, you know what? I have to meet your husband first. I just have 3 questions I have to ask you both at the first time. And I'm glad we got to end up finding out those questions. But he goes ahead and walks with her to her camp. And what did you guys think before we got to this final scene? What did you guys think about her? Did you think it was going to be Bad News Bears?
I mean, honestly, from the beginning, I got a bad vibe from her, so I thought it was just a complete setup. I wasn't sure what to expect as far as where she was going to take him to, but I just did not get a good vibe from her from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she looked really dirty, like a very different type of human than we've seen, like homeless type of thing. And again, like very, very untrustworthy. Very weird to have an Irish accent. She explained, why she was in the South, in the U.S. South, because she was trapped in an airport when the whole apocalypse happened, the zombie outbreak happened.
Well, she just has that Irish accent,
Yeah.
That's how she has to talk.
So-
She just she was in the airports and she was with her husband. So one of the interesting things she said, one of the quotes that I liked, was when Rick tells her, you try anything, you're going to be the one to lose. And she says, I have nothing left to lose. I like that quote. I thought it was very good.
And he said, when she said, I have nothing left to lose. And I was thinking, like, well, who's right? Because he's like, yes, you do. So.
You can still lose your life and your sanity. Other sanity's kind of.
But as we see later on, I think maybe she might have been more right than him when we'll get to it, I think.
Yeah, true. So as they're walking, he's explaining the questions, and they're kind of like, she's asking these thoughts that at first I was really, really hoping that she would end up like, that they'd save someone new. I was hoping for it, but of course it's The Walking Dead. So
I thought she was going to eat him. I thought she was going to turn and then try to eat him.
Yeah, I thought maybe.
Or maybe not turn and just, because.
Eat him anyway.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, because as they were having these conversations about the horrible things they've had to do, I was almost thinking maybe she was a cannibal. I thought maybe that was what she was.
You did say that.
Yeah.
During this thing. But I also thought that possibly it was her setting like something up for her husband. Like he was going to be some type of walker and she was going to try and sacrifice Rick in some form.
Trap him
in that way. So that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. Yeah, and we end up finding they get to the encampment, and there is just you don't see anything, and when you don't see anything, I figured it must have been a head. That was kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
What's in the box?
Or
the bag.
What's in
in
the
this
box?
case.
What's in the box? That's a 7
and
reference
you-
for any of you who don't know what we're talking about.
And if you don't, you should really watch it.
you should really watch it. It's on
Great
Cinemax
movie.
like all the time.
What show?
Seven.
The movie. With
Oh,
Brad
that was a
Pitt,
great movie.
Morgan
That was a
Freeman.
Kevin
Oh yeah,
Spacey.
that was a
Yeah, Kevin
fantastic
Spacey.
movie.
Yes.
When I heard Cinemax, I just went to Strike Back, which is also an awesome show. But yeah, so I like that we did see the head moving at the end because I was like, yes, I was right. That's more why I was happy about it, seeing the bag moving at the end. But we see her and she all of a sudden turns on him, tries to attack him, and the whole idea is that the horrible things that she's been doing is feeding people to pretty much what the governor did, what David Morrissey was doing was feeding people to her beloved and trying to keep them alive in some semblance, even if it's just a head.
Yeah.
Trying to keep that head alive in some way. Although I'm wondering, like, how long does a walker last without food? Because I don't think we've ever seen a walker just collapse without food and not.
Yeah,
live.
they've never really brought that up on how long they can last, but you never really see any fat zombies, so
Well,
it's
they-
kind of hard to
You
tell.
do. You do the well zombie.
And they in
Oh, that's
season-
right. The well zombie was.
Season 3, they talked about when Milton gets
Yeah, Milton-
Michonne's,
yeah.
you know, two zombies head and talks about the fact that they actually were starving. It just they didn't. He said he didn't know how long, but it
Right.
takes them a lot longer to starve to death, so to speak, than it does, you know, for humans.
Yeah.
But he couldn't pinpoint exactly how
The
long
exact
it
time.
was.
Yeah.
Especially probably because she cut off the head, so it's not
Yeah.
hard to tell anymore.
So Liz agreeing with me that she thought that the girl was going to eat him, or going to agree Rick. So that's kind of what Liz thought on the chat. B Fernandez throwing out a lot of hashtags saying Derrial hashtag pull the Derrial and hashtag what's in the box. So, but anyways, we get Rick throws her off because he's just in ready mode pretty much, and he's just used to anything at this point. And then she commits seppuku. So she goes ahead and she commits suicide, and I'm calling it that because that's kind of the way she did, was kneeling down and sticking the dagger in herself. It seems very much like.
But even then, she wanted Rick to shoot her, and he wouldn't do it. And the way he was holding the gun and shaking, he's just so shaken up over using a gun.
Well, and
Yeah.
then is she gonna turn? In which case, shouldn't he have shot her in the head
she,
anyway?
she would turn, yeah.
And
No,
we didn't
she'll
see
just
it.
That's
come-
what I was thinking.
She'll just come up against the wall anyways, and the wall cleanup crew will take care of it.
Or he'll see her and freak out.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Or yeah, that I don't know. I think he's so used to the walker thing at this point that he'd be used to. It's not like he got that close to her. I'm sure he looked like a walker anyways. Let's be honest. She totally did. But yeah, so anyways, he unfortunately he's not able to save her, and she just can't take it anymore. All the atrocities she's done, and he asked the 3 questions. So we actually do get the 3 questions asked, which I'm really glad they did that. And the 3 questions were: the first question is how many walkers have you killed?
Yeah.
Second question was how many people have you killed? And then the final question was why. And for her, that was kind of the why question just got to her, because she, as they had that conversation as they were walking, she just said about can you live with the atrocities you've done? Is it okay? She just kind of says that she doesn't get to come back from here, as in she can't come back to her humanity from the horrible things she's done.
Yeah.
Well, she
And-
said she never killed any people
That's
She
what made it
says-
so
except
sad.
herself.
Yeah. That's what
So
made-
she obviously wasn't feeding her head husband.
But she says, but when he says how many people have you killed, she says 3.
No.
No.
She
Doesn't
said
she?
just me. She said
She
She
said
said
just
just
me.
me. Yeah, she said just me.
Yeah.
But
I
for
missed
walkers,
that.
she had killed some walkers.
No, she said Eddie killed all the walkers.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
what it was?
So she
Okay.
never killed anybody.
So
which just
maybe
makes
she
it even
thinks
Just
sadder.
killed
So maybe
herself.
she thinks the fact that she even tried to kill Rick, it means that was it. She doesn't get to come back from the fact that she tried to kill Rick.
You know what's interesting? When she said you don't get to come back, I just realized. I just thought of this now, but didn't Milton say something like that in Clear? Like you just clear and you die, or you die. It was something.
Yeah.
It was
It's
something
in
similar.
reference to that.
Yeah. So it just reminded me of that. So also an episode written by Scott Gimple. So maybe a little
Well,
trend.
and
It's a tie-in,
Yeah.
possibly.
Speaking of Milton quickly, I did notice they used some of the ways to keep the zombies out was in front of the prison, how Milton had it with all the sticks and
Yeah.
everything. So
So-
I thought that was cool that they used that.
So Dave Boyce on the chat saying that Clara was the name of the girl. I don't know if there's a way to clarify that, but I mean, hey, if you're right, there you go. That's apparently according to Dave Boyce. I'll throw it on him. If that's wrong, it's not on me. It's on Dave Boyce.
I didn't see it, but
different Dave.
I actually thought
Yes.
it was kind of interesting that she didn't have a name, kind of, especially after they had that whole scene about Violet, and then the scene with the kids talking about naming the zombies. The fact that I didn't hear her name, unless it's in IMDb, but they just maybe purposely didn't mention her name in the episode. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and talk about Carl now and Carl's storyline, where Carl talking to Rick, and he really wants to be the man of the group, or be a man. He looks at himself as a head. He thinks he's a head. He thinks he's a figure. And Rick still wants him to be a kid and act like a kid. As I'm sure any parent from the old generation would want their kids to be able to experience that. But at this point, Carl's just experienced so much.
Yeah, I
He can't
think
anymore.
it's impossible for Carl to be a regular kid. I
Yeah.
mean, he shot Shane in the head. He
He
shot
killed his
zombie
mother.
Hanks,
Zombie
killed his mother. Yeah,
Although
the
Derrial
zombie.
did, Derrial did bring him back the Walking Dead comics, so
Michonne.
Michonne.
or Michonne did. That's right, Michonne
yeah.
did.
Comics.
So
Yeah.
it's-
But I mean, it's just I think it's
Grown men read comics though, so I don't think that's.
I read The
big-
Walking Dead.
Exactly.
go.
But
Exhibit
actually,
A.
and by the way, we don't know if it's the Walking Dead comics. I'm just thinking it would be funny if those were the comics Michonne had brought.
I figured
Carl
it's at
was
least
the
that would be
Walking Dead.
classic. That'd be great.
At least it's Skybound comics for Robert Kirkman. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's just impossible for Carl to have a regular childhood at this point. I mean, we've talked about this through other seasons, but I think that he's not a regular kid. There's so much responsibility on him. He is an adult, even though he's a young kid. So there's no way Rick can expect him to still be a
totally.
regular teenager.
Here's the interesting thing about Carl in relationship to the end of last season when he killed somebody.
How much older he looks.
Well, first of all, how much older
long
he
hair.
looks. So we
Long
still
hair,
don't know
yeah.
how much time has really passed. We
Yeah.
know at least 30 days. But he killed someone, and I remember we were talking about, we really thought that Carl was going to be a major player, and especially just go a lot darker.
Yeah.
So he's gotten a lot less darker, and it seems like Rick has been the cause of that, and that's why Rick isn't touching a gun, because I think Rick knows he's influenced his son to want to be like him and to want to shoot. So now Rick's been a lot more of a almost like a pacifist, and he's been trying to create that in Carl.
Yeah.
Well, you also have Lori's last words to Carl too, which were in being a good person and trying to entice that last word. So as much as we thought Carl was going to take this dark arc, I think his mother's last words to him will probably have still in fact impacted him
Yeah.
in a positive way.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting too that this season they brought several new kids in the realm of the season, where that might be some type of kind of change for Carl, where maybe he can become more of a regular kid among these other kids, even though he'll probably be the leader, but he'll be more of like a regular kid.
Well,
within
that scene with the kids naming the zombies, which obviously kind of mirrored the first scene with Violet, with him naming Violet, which I thought was funny. But him just trying to get along with these normal kids and having that whole interaction was hilarious and really interesting. They were like one-upping each other, him with that girl.
But the pig was so cute.
I
I
love
can
the
see where he
pig.
named
Violet.
it.
And Violet was sick and died.
I was sad.
So on the chat, they really don't like Carl. Dave Boyce thinks he's annoying as hell. Liz says that she just can't like Carl. So yeah,
Poor
they
Carl.
Wow.
He was a buzzkill though. Well, especially with the kids in the
Well,
fence.
yeah, with the kids, he's a buzzkill.
Yeah.
Like, don't name those walkers. They're just trying to like live in this world. They're just trying to get by.
I'm Team Carl though, because the kids had a tough time. I mean, and those kids haven't experienced the same things necessarily what Carl has, so he's going to be a little biased and he's going to be a little bit more mature or negative in a sense, but because of what he's experienced versus what those other kids have. So
Yeah.
And I
I
think,
mean, he had to shoot his mom. I mean, come on.
and later on when we see him kind of infiltrate the story time, I think he wanted to hear the stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I think
think so,
he kind
too.
of felt like he was missing out, and if nobody knew that he was there, no harm, no foul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too. I think he
I
just
do,
doesn't want
yeah.
people to know.
He doesn't want to
that
think
he's,
that he's not cool. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, like he
He's a
just
teenager still.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
going through that time.
Yeah.
Fifth Harry Potter book. But some of you will get that.
I got it.
I'm
I
glad
got it,
you
Dave.
got that.
I got it, Dave.
But no,
know
I
that's
mean, like I agree. He was sneaking into story time. He really does still have that in him. That he still he was excited about the comics when
Yeah,
he
he
got
was.
the comics.
Yeah.
But I think it's just more of, especially with Rick and to other people, he wants to look like and feel like an adult. Because what teenager doesn't? Teenager wants to feel like they're an adult. They want to be treated like an adult. But deep down, you still want to be a kid inside. And I don't mind if people know that I read The Walking Dead because I am a kid inside.
It's
You're a
great
big kid,
book.
Dave.
A big kid. But yeah, that's kind of
The Walking Dead is not a kid book. Don't start
Yeah.
making people think that. Some of
No,
the deaths
it's
in the
not.
comic book are a lot gruesomer than anything we've seen on AMC.
Yeah.
So
Well, I love Adventure Time, but that's also very adult moments in that show.
yeah, there you go.
But anyways, with Carl though, or with that scene with what Carol's doing, it's funny they had the fake story time where it's first like when everyone's there at the
Yeah.
beginning, they're doing the fake stories, and then she's doing all these survival skills. So it's kind of a twist there that Carol's the one now who's teaching everyone this. And at the beginning, the first season, she seemed like that's so opposite of her character the first season.
Yeah.
Now she's completely turned into this. But
And
it's
Carl didn't like it.
But it's funny though is that yeah, that's true. And Carl doesn't like that she's doing that, or he wanted the stories, man. He just wanted stories.
You just want to hear stories.
But it's funny though that
I like that though. Today we're going to talk about knives.
I feel like Carol's like the way that she does is so motherly in the way that she's
She's
doing
very
it.
good at that.
But I
yeah.
mean, she's right though. The kids do need to learn this.
They
stuff.
have
Yeah.
to learn. It's about survival. They have to learn.
Well, it reminded me a lot of last season when she tells Andrea to
Oh,
kill
yeah.
the governor.
Mm.
It was a side where I think that all took us
Yeah.
back a little bit,
Yeah.
but she's, I mean,
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
she
they've all
literally
lived through so
said
much.
sleep with him and
And kill him.
Kill him. Yeah.
give him the best night of his life and then
Yeah.
kill him.
And the Woody Man agreeing with kind of what the consensus was here, that Carl tried to be a kid by going to the book reading, then it ended up being how to stab a zombie lessons.
Yeah.
So
He can't escape it.
He's like, I could teach this class, Carol. Move over.
he's like, I
That's
got
why he was
this.
mad. He was like, nobody asked me to do this.
Well, maybe because Carol teaches how to stab a zombie 101. He's like, I could teach 102.
if you want to be advanced, come to my
Right.
class.
Exactly.
But we get this whole thing during this moment and the way that we wrap up the episode, which is with our man from the beginning, Patrick.
Yeah.
And Patrick feeling sick. And at first when he was feeling sick, like it almost seemed like he just couldn't handle the whole knife lesson. And no, it turns out he's really sick.
That was a
feeling
great
really
misdirect.
sick.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to, vom all over the girls there.
That is.
So what was the
that's a good
word he
thing.
used? Hurl?
Hurl, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want to hurl over
Or
the
yak.
girls. Yak.
Yak,
Yak.
it was,
That's
yak.
what he used.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to yak all over the girls. So we get the ending moment with him where he's really sick and goes to take a shower. And I wonder what disease he had. I mean, definitely like at a time like that, any disease could happen. You could die from anything. But I'm just curious what disease he had. And I wonder, maybe it was the same disease that Violet had.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely. I felt like they made a point to show the pig,
Yeah.
and then to show him, and then it was something still with the zombie, outside the fence.
With that girl, or the one with the
That
eyes.
had
the
the
big
same
eye,
eyes.
the big eye
Yeah.
zombie. So we were all trying to figure that out of what that really meant. But I'm curious to know what tie-in that is.
And they
together.
showed. I don't know if you noticed this. I noticed this the second time I saw it because I saw it twice. They showed a lot of like little quick scenes of like bugs, like ants crawling over dead bugs.
Yeah.
Too, and I think the woods girl was when Rick and the woods girl found
It
that
was
one animal, it was
specifically-
sick too. So
Yeah.
it seems to be something kind of like Outbreak, where it starts with a monkey or it starts
Yeah.
with some animals, and
Yeah.
it's adapting to hit humans now.
See, that's a good point because when I first saw that, what I thought when it was showing the bugs, because it had all the ants crawling over a larger dead bug.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe the symbolism was the whole cannibal thing, but it could be symbolism of a lot of smaller things taking over a bigger thing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like Woodbury, or not Woodbury, but the prison is the bigger thing, and a lot of smaller things are going to end up taking over the prison, the bigger thing.
Yeah.
So I
Overtaking
wonder
it.
if that's what the symbolism. But definitely there is some symbolism. So hey, if you guys have some thoughts and speculations of what you think that symbolism was, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and
Let us know
also,
what you guys think.
one of my things was that the animals were actually eating some of the flesh of the zombies in some way, and that is causing some type of sickness or.
Well, we don't know
what
if this
that
is going to be
means, so.
airborne, or we don't know
Yeah.
if it's fluids. I thought it was really funny that the store was called Big Spit because I'm thinking spit's a way that
Yeah.
these diseases can be transmitted. So that's why I was like, oh, Big Spit, interesting.
I was just thinking the whole romance.
And
thing.
another, yeah, that's actually
That's
good
apparently
too.
where our two heads go. I go towards
Ooh.
romance, and you go towards disease and death.
Well, the first,
You're on the right side together. Right?
the first thing that happens in this episode and the last thing that happens in this episode is kind of similar. Rick, before he goes to the garden to start, he throws water from a very similar looking barrel on his face. And then, of course, the last scene is Patrick taking a shower. So it even makes you wonder, maybe it's something that's in the water.
I think the Woody Man's calling it out. Swine flu.
Swine
According to
flu?
the Woody Man, swine flu.
Zombie
Yeah, well,
flu.
we saw
Zombie
it from the
flu.
pig. We
But
saw
yeah,
it from the pig.
That's
Z-flu.
great though. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. The pig was a total foreshadow to that with
Yeah.
the pig being sick, and then he gets
Yeah,
sick.
it's
and
definitely
then,
some
yeah,
tie-in,
totally,
for
Water.
sure.
Who knows? Maybe the fence cleaners, because they're so close to zombies. Maybe the zombies can bring it. But it makes perfect sense that in a world like this, where you can't really sanitize things, you can't do a good job cleaning things,
Yeah.
that disease is going to start spreading,
Yeah.
and new diseases probably.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Well, it even goes back to Tyrese at the beginning when they were killing the zombies,
He said
and
he didn't like
he
it.
said he didn't like it. I feel like there's some tie-in with all of that together. You know?
Wow.
So
Well, and if they already have the disease too, I mean, just what causes it to excel?
Yeah.
I think that could
Lots
be
of
another
questions. It's
too.
really awesome
Lots of
though.
questions.
And this
First
is something,
episode.
Yeah,
First
and this is
episode.
something that the comic books haven't really talked about
Yeah.
disease much. This kind of a disease. So it's
Yeah.
really interesting.
I agree. I'll be very curious to see where they go with the whole disease plotline. The other thing too is now there is a Walker loose in the confines. A Walker with the crazy eyes loose, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Who also is bleeding out of his mouth because maybe he dropped on his mouth. I don't know, but he's bleeding a lot,
it was been a lot.
excessively for like the fact that he just collapsed.
Yeah.
So maybe they spew blood. Oh, it'd be so cool if they were like Resident Evil zombies and they spew blood, throw blood at people.
Oh,
That's what I want.
That would be crazy.
They throw blood at people. That's poison blood.
Poison blood.
Walker blood.
Well, that's where you just hope when he does wake up and start walking around that a lot of those cells are locked. But I'm not sure if they do that or not.
I don't think it's going to end up good.
Yeah. It's
No.
definitely gonna be bad.
Yeah.
They were showing some previews during the marathon. Doesn't look good.
Yeah,
for most of the
exactly.
people.
I'm feeling like a lot of those previews are just gonna be the first half of the season, personally. But something that we didn't get at all in this episode. Well, we got it. Michonne was out looking for the governor, and that's what's implied by it. I don't think they specifically said the governor, but that's what to me
He
was
said,
implied.
He said something about, did you find him or something.
Right. I mean,
and
that's
we all
what
know.
implies
Yeah.
the governor, and we still don't know where the governor is. It's still not wrapped up. Where did David Morrissey just maybe ran off back to Britain.
Well,
he's back in England.
I mean, I mentioned this at the beginning. One thing I noticed at the beginning was, first of all, Melissa McBride finally got her credits in the opening segment, which she's never had. She's always been like also starring Melissa McBride
Right.
after the opening, and Morrissey's completely absent from any credits at all.
Well, and he didn't do
So-
any press either
Yeah.
recently throughout the whole thing. So I think it'll be something he'll show up.
It's just
Way
a pop
later.
in, but they
Yeah.
really want people to kind of forget about him, I think, for a little while and just let.
He's
Chris
probably
and those
dropping
dudes-
off all those zombies
Well,
that are now at the front.
maybe he's going to be in the second half of the season. Maybe they're just setting it up for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I want it to be like the first half of the season, honestly, that they wrap up the governor stuff.
But wouldn't
And
it be
then they can
great as
move
a
on.
surprise? Wouldn't it be great just you're just lulled into a sense of
But what if he saves everybody and that's a twist?
There's no
That'd be
way.
a
Gonna
nice
save
twist.
everybody.
Mm.
All right, so Kristen's got a little trivia for everybody, for
Yes.
the YouTube commenters.
So I've been teasing that I went to the Walking Dead premiere, and my camera woman and I, who you guys know, Megan, shout out to her.
Megan is the best.
She's
in
awesome.
Disney World right now, and I hate her.
Yeah,
for
and
it.
I'll be there next week, so I won't be here, you guys. But she actually, we got separated. They couldn't get both of us on the red carpet, so I had to do camera, audio, and also interview people. So if you watch the interviews, that's why they look a little odd. But she, instead, I bought a poster, and I told her, can you get autographs for our fans? So she killed it and got so many people. There's Andrew Lincoln on there. Norman Reedus signed it twice.
And that's the important one. You need
Exactly.
That one twice.
So now you have him twice. Denai, who plays Michonne. You have, Sasha's on there. Who else did she get? She got Maggie. I think out of that whole group, the only person she didn't get was Glenn.
Well, as long as she
Stephen
got Lauren Cohen and not Glenn
Lauren-
at the same time, that's a positive
Lauren
thing.
Cohen is on there, and a couple of the newer stars as well. So it has about 12 different people that signed it. So what we're gonna do to get you guys more involved, and to give out cool prizes, is the first 5 people to correctly answer on YouTube will get entered into this pot of
This
names
pool.
The pot of names.
to win the poster, and then we'll mail it out to you. So I wrote down a bunch of different ones. I'm gonna go with this one because we saw the piglet, and this also makes you watch a really cute Andrew Lincoln interview that I did with him. And so the question is, Andrew Lincoln got along very well with the piglets in season 4, and again, I talked to him. So if you look on AfterBuzz on the YouTube site, there's a really cute interview where he talks about that. And he says at one point a name of a certain piglet. And I put, what is the name of the piglet, the runt of the litter, that Andrew really connected with? So after you watch that, please comment on
I was gonna give the
This-
answer.
I was gonna guess. I'm like, I shouldn't guess.
the actual,
what's right?
the real pig's name. So it's not Violet. That's your one hint. The real pig's name. And he talks about it in the interview. So if you go and you watch the interview, then come back onto YouTube for this particular podcast and write, hey, it's this one. And Andrew Lincoln's adorable. You can write that too. I would write that.
I would write down Lauren Cohen's interview. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about some news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
All right, I don't know if this is just me, but I do have a little bit of information. A couple of new regulars that are slated to join the cast this season. Josh McDermott, he's from a show called Retired at 35. He has been cast as Dr. Eugene Porter.
For those of you guys who read the comics,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. And then Michael Cuddles. He's from Southland.
Cutlets,
He would.
I think it's Cutlets, but
Is it
Cutlets. I think.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Cutlets. Michael Cutlets will play Abraham, the Good Doctor's traveling companion this season.
Oh,
and
Abraham.
he's from Southland. So
I'm excited to see that.
And they showed,
too.
and Michael, at least I know, was at New York Comic Con yesterday, and they were talking about how they were keeping him a secret because Abraham was a very popular character in the comic book, and I think they kept him away from the cast and they had him in a different hotel room. They really did a good job trying to keep him from being revealed.
yeah, and this is something just extra from Robert Kirkman, just in talking about the season and what fans can expect. He said, we have been able to do a pretty spectacular job of keeping what we're really doing in season 4 a secret. He said people have been seeing the promos and they're kind of knowing what's coming, but they have no idea exactly what exciting stuff we have in store for the prison, but there is so much story that really has not been given away. I think
Like
the
the
audience
governor
truly
twisting
is
and saving everybody.
exactly.
Yeah.
He said, I think the audience is truly going to be shocked because trust me, they have no idea what is coming. That makes me excited. That's all I know. I mean, because I feel like I've been trying to predict what's going on, and just when I do, I'm totally sidetracked.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's kind of old news, but we might as well just bring it up just to say that the AMC got a spin-off
Yes.
for The Walking Dead
very
that's going to
important.
premiere in 2015. So, yeah, we've
There's not a name yet, right?
not a name yet.
Yeah.
Nothing else other than the
It's
fact that
called
Robert
Dixon
Kirkman's going to be
Brothers.
in charge of it again. So it's going to be a spin-off of The Walking Dead, probably from some other part of the U.S. or something.
Called Dixon Brothers.
Dixon Brothers.
Oh yeah, no, it'd be cool if it was another part of the U.S. That would make more sense. Just like
Yeah.
a Walking Dead game is a different spin-off. in a way,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Walking Dead game's awesome.
All I know
But-
is I think we're in tune for an exciting season right now.
Speaking of Derrial not being able to predict anything, let's talk about predictions.
And now,
Whoa!
your AfterBuzz
Crazy lights in the
TV
studio.
predictions.
Insane. Insanity. So, what do you guys think, based on this first episode, where do you see the season heading? What do you guys think we're going to see next episode?
I think we touched on it a little bit, but with Maggie and Glenn, I think she is going to get pregnant. I don't think necessarily in the next episode, but I think that'll be something because she said that she actually kind of wanted it, and I think that'll be very interesting. I tend to think one of the other romances may fall apart. I think, Karen might kick it, or
Yeah.
something developing that way. And I know we talked about if there was a little tension maybe between Michonne and Rick when she came back because he was very happy to see her. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll be interested if that's just a friendship or if they become.
It's because Carl
more.
likes her, so he likes her.
They seem to get
Well,
along, yeah.
If
Yeah.
Carl likes her too, that makes it easier.
But Daryl had a problem with her. That was interesting. Maybe there was some tension there with Daryl, too.
Because Derrial likes her too.
Yeah. They all like Michelle. Oh, well, I can't blame them.
And Carol's sad.
I was going to say, my prediction was that I think that we will finally see Daryl and Carol have a hookup session. That's what I think.
Ooh.
Finally, like a full-fledged.
They
Yeah,
should go up to that
Melissa.
tower. That Glenn
Exactly.
had.
I'm excited for Melissa McBride.
All right.
Me too.
I want to say, well, I love the fact that there are a lot of new characters and 2 of them are dead already. I just really hope that they don't keep the core alive. I really want to see, and maybe I'll predict that Melissa McBride's going to die, that Carol's going to die, because now she's finally in the opening credits. Maybe she'll die finally. I'm not saying
Oh
maybe
my
she'll
gosh,
finally
that's so
die,
harsh.
but I want to see. No, but obviously I don't want the show to go into the whole trap of, oh, let's save these 6 characters and no matter what happens, let them survive. Like,
But they
what's
had to
part of
sign
it?
contracts, and that's what their contract said was they get to survive for 5 more seasons.
I don't know about that.
Come on, Nando.
But I will say a prediction. I think that they're going to discover about this illness, and people are going to go crazy in a sense. Like when people are really nervous about people coughing around them. I wouldn't be surprised if people start just going crazy just at the slightest hint of someone being sick, and it's going to cause hysteria in the prison. Yeah.
I'm thinking kind of a random prediction, but I think that with Karen and Tyrese and that whole relationship, that Sasha is going to get jealous, but not in the lover's sense, but in the sense of Tyrese's time is going to be taken up with Karen so much. I'm wondering if that maybe that's going to cause tension between Sasha and Karen, or something's going to happen between the 2 of them. So that's kind of what I think. And yeah, I think that Patrick's going to end up killing someone. I think Patrick's going to kill someone next week, and then the whole prison outbreak's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's going to be monkeys everywhere. And,
Monkeys.
and then the governor's going to come back and save everybody and be like, here's the cure. God. Let me just do the most out there predictions, and then if
that's
one
out
comes
there.
true, I could just be like, I'm a genius.
You really want him to save the world.
It might work. It might work.
Or he'll save them just to kill them.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us for The Walking Dead Season 4, finally back after such a long wait. Man, it felt
Too
like
long.
Forever. Way too long. So, guys, thank you for joining us this week, and we will see you guys next week. But once again, I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @TheDaveKlein. That is Klein.
I'm Nando Velasquez. You can find me on Twitter at Nando Vel.
I'm Derrial Christon. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook under the same name.
I'm Kristin Carole. You can follow me on Twitter, Kristin Carole 13, and answer the trivia question, first 5 on YouTube.
And my prediction is that Kristin won't be with us next week.
No, I will be in Disney World. Sorry, guys. Happiest place on earth.
All right, guys. See you next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AFTERBUZZ TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.